Yeah, that was bad. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. That wasn't fun. Grossi, and today we are going to be breaking down the Green Bay Packers' loss to the Las Vegas Raiders, 17-13 on Monday Night Football. And excuse my voice because I was yelling a lot, sometimes out of frustration, and then excitement, and then despair. So that's what we're working with. And I have a lot that I want to say about this game. And right off the rip, let me just say this. That was one of the worst offensive performances I have seen as a Packers fan in a good little while. Now, of course, you're going to have like the 49ers game in the divisional round a couple years ago, couldn't move the ball. But there's reasons why this was so bad. And a lot of people are looking immediately at Jordan Love. And let me be very clear, Jordan Love had a bad night. He had a bad game against the Lions. And heading into the bye, I don't know if Jordan Love's the guy. We're still at that point because had a great first couple weeks, and now these past couple weeks haven't been good. What does that mean? I don't know. What I think it means is that the guy has started 6 games, and these are those growing pains that we talked about, in that this is how the team is hopefully going to get better, or at the end of the day, we're going to find out who should be on this team and who is going to lead them forward with the best opportunity to win. So that's right there. That's Jordan Love, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. But this game was not all on Jordan Love, and a big part of why the Packers did not do well tonight is because of Matt LaFleur. And LaFleur, as I said before this season even started, all I want from this season is to see progress, development, and whoever is not good for this team, changes are made for the good of the team. That could be Goody, that could be Barry, that could be LaFleur, that could be Love, that could be anybody on the offense, that could be anybody on the defense. What the Packers should be doing this year is evaluating the talent that they have, whether it's coaching staff, whether it's player personnel, or whether it's all the way up to the GM, and seeing what is going to get the Packers to where they want to be, which is ultimately a championship. And Matt LaFleur was not good tonight. And listen, we had issues, right? In terms of injuries, Darnell Savage got injured, Quay Walker got injured, both didn't return to the game. Aaron Jones surprisingly did not play after really doing nothing, wasn't able to do anything against the Lions. That wasn't on Aaron Jones. He just wasn't utilized. And right before the bye week, they decide to sit him so he can rest up and get healthy, which I don't necessarily disagree with. But at the end of the day, if Aaron Jones isn't going to be in the game, you have to game plan for that. I don't care if it happened right before the game. I don't care if it happened 2 weeks before the game. The point is that a coach is supposed to set your players up with the best game plan to succeed. And the Green Bay Packers are a very young, inexperienced football team. And Jordan Love got very little help from his coach, from his O-line, and of course, he did not play well also. So, let's go through the offense first because I think that's the best place to start. Looking at that first half, abysmal. The Packers this year have been a second half team if they show up in the second half. But again, not doing much. They scored a total of 3 points in the first half. Their offense was anemic. They weren't moving the ball. They kind of committed to the run, but then they didn't. It was a bunch of check downs. It was just sloppy. And the secondary of the Raiders is injured right now, and for some reason, we weren't taking advantage of that. The Raiders have a really bad run defense, and A.J. Dillon actually looked pretty good tonight. 20 carries for 76 yards, had a touchdown, also had a big 4th down conversion. And I was like, yes, this is the A.J. Dillon that we have needed on this offense. But you look at the receivers, Christian Watson, 3 for 91, leading receiver there. Luke Musgrave, 6 for 34. Everybody else, either 1 or 2 targets for Patrick Taylor. and that was it. The Packers offense could not establish a drive. They couldn't get anything going. The play calling was unimaginative. It was not good. It didn't take advantage of the speed that we have on this team, also with the injuries and weaknesses of the Raiders defense. And it's just really frustrating because I already anticipated that this was going to be a season of ups and downs. Today is definitely a down, but I thought that maybe we wouldn't see the same issue week in and week out. And we're starting to see that, and we're only in week 5. Because again, Jordan Love is in his 6th start. He's brand freaking new, and I know he's been sitting for a bit, but the point that I'm trying to make is that you got to do everything in your power to give that guy all the support that you can. And when Aaron Jones isn't in the game, it just seems like Matt LaFleur doesn't know what to do. And considering Aaron Jones had to take a pay cut to stay in Green Bay, I think that's a little strange, considering you go, oh yeah, running backs are not that important, which is just like the league mantra right now. But also when Aaron Jones is not there, I don't know what to do. And I'm not trying to make this an anti-Matt LaFleur episode, because I think Matt LaFleur is a good coach. Do I think he has weaknesses? Absolutely. I think adjustments are really difficult for him. I think he second guesses himself when it comes to player personnel. We've seen this along the offensive line. And overall, it resulted in the disaster that we saw tonight. And once again, the Packers couldn't get anything going in the first half. And as we saw with the Lions, you can only do that for so long. The Packers, they were able to come back against the Saints. They weren't able to do it here, even though they had ample opportunities to. And because of that, they're going to lose to better teams. But the Raiders, they gave the Packers opportunities to win. Hell, the last drive of the Raiders, instead of going for it on 4th and 1, they decide to kick a long field goal. They miss, and the Packers have all the time in the world. They still have a timeout, and the play calling is just, I don't understand it. And then, of course, Jordan Love throws a bomb to Christian Watson, and that gets intercepted. You can't do that. It's a young QB mistake, and I just hope that he's going to learn from it. And we're going to see if he does, because ultimately, that is the point of this season. Is Jordan Love our franchise QB? Mark Murphy said it's going to take half the season. We're on week 5. And I want to take a little bit of an aside right now, because again, I don't know how many times I need to say this. Jordan Love played poorly. 16 for 30, 182 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But the guy also needs help. And the fact that our entire offensive line couldn't stop the one guy who was making problems in our backfield, Max Crosby, that's a problem. I mean, they had like 3 guys on him by the end of the night. And Max Crosby is a really good player. Shout out to Max Crosby. Was a total game record tonight and deserves all of the accolades. You could see why he's the franchise player for the Raiders. For the Packers, they never really adjusted that well, though. And again, Max Crosby's really, really good. Don't get me wrong. But the Packers have to do something, whether it's running away from that pressure, whether it's running to the opposite side, or whether it's getting the ball out quickly. I mean, there was a play on that final drive where there were 2 receivers in the same spot. Like, that does not help Jordan Love. And again, that may have worked with Aaron Rodgers. He has all the experience. He has all the accolades. But for a guy in his 6th start, you gotta help him out. And the O-line is already beaten up. Of course, David Bakhtiari's out for the year. But the point is, the offense stunk, and it's not just on Jordan Love. Did he help? Absolutely not. But it's on the O-line, it's on Jordan Love, and it's on Matt LaFleur with the play calling, because it was just abysmal tonight and incredibly frustrating to watch. Then heading over to the defense. For the most part, in my opinion, the defense did enough to win. Did they play a perfect game? Definitely not. But for a majority of the night, Davante Adams was held to 1 catch. Then there was the drive where Preston Smith, for some unknown reason, was covering Davante Adams. Yes, you heard that correctly. Preston Smith. Yes, you heard that correctly. Preston Smith was covering Davante Adams. And it's crap like this that you look at in close games that can make the difference. And unfortunately, it did. Now again, I want to take a little bit of a step back because I do think the defense did enough to win the game. Packers had the ball last. They had the time. They couldn't execute. But if we're going to play and win against better teams, that kind of stuff can happen. So the defense, while not at fault, could have been better this evening. Of course, with the loss of Quay Walker, who arguably is one of the best defensive players on that squad, it's always going to hurt. But I understand the frustrations of Packers fans who are looking at this and going, why is Joe Barry still employed? It's personnel, it's play calling. I mean, hell, Jacoby Myers, 7 for 75 and a touchdown. And the touchdown that he had was a joke. The Packers were 10 yards off him, and they just had to get 10 yards to get into the end zone. It's that soft kind of coverage that drives me and many fans insane. And yeah, it's frustrating, especially in a loss. And so, where does that leave the Green Bay Packers? Well, they are 2-3. They are still second in the NFC North behind the Lions, who right now, definite favorites to win that division. They have the bye week, and then they're playing the Broncos. And I thought the Packers were going to win tonight's game. I think they should have been favored to win tonight's game. And what I saw was incredibly disappointing. And if they are not able to get past the Broncos, then we're going to have to start having other conversations. But I also wanted to take a quick moment before we close this whole thing out. And yes, I'm very frustrated. I'm very disappointed. Why? Because I'm a Packers fan. I want to see my team do well. I love my team. However, there are also people who are using this opportunity to just crap all over Jordan Love. And I'm not talking about Vikings fans or Bears fans or Lions fans. I'm not talking about them, right? Because that comes with the territory. Every time Kirk Cousins throws an interception, we're like, hey, go back to Coles. That's fine. There are Packers fans, even before the season, who are calling for Sean Clifford or calling Jordan Love a bust. This is his 6th start. And I just think it's kind of crappy that Jordan Love is not being given the same wiggle room that when an MVP quarterback and Aaron Rodgers struggled, it was everybody else's fault. And the point that I'm trying to make is Jordan Love, he might be bad. He might not improve. You might see a decline. And guess what? He's not our franchise QB of the future. I do not know, but neither do you. And looking at Jordan Love right now, the stats are not great from tonight. I told you in the Lions game, they weren't good. However, we've seen some really great play by Jordan Love. The first couple of weeks, he looked incredible. He was leading the passer rating. He wasn't throwing interceptions. And now he's struggling because he's a young quarterback again in his 6th overall start. So, if you are saying Jordan Love is a bust and the season's over for you, have fun with the remaining 13 weeks. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to hope that Jordan Love gets better, and I will criticize if he doesn't, but at the same time, I'm also giving him a little bit of leeway considering this is a really young Packer squad, our O-line is beat to hell, the play calling is not good, and he hasn't played in double-digit games. So I'm giving him a little bit of grace. I'm hoping that he improves, and either way, I just hope the Packers freaking fix this thing. And just one last thing. Carlson, by the way, our kicker, 100% on the year still. And all during training camp and all during preseason, everyone was calling him a bust too. The point is that I know it's frustrating, but we have to have some patience here because otherwise this is going to be a very, very long season. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. You know, I saw me at Tom Grossi Comedy on all social media. See down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.